I'll never forget the early 90s in Little Rock. You could stand at the corner of 15th and Oak, a spot that looked like any other quiet tree-lined street, and know in your gut it was one of the most dangerous places in America. I knew because too many times I was called there to pick up a young man whose life had been stolen in a cloud of gunfire. Back then, my job as coroner meant I saw the aftermath up close. But my work didn't end with zipping up body bags. I made it my mission to understand what was happening to our kids. Just a few years earlier, these had been groups of mischievous boys, troublemakers for sure, but now they were full-fledged gangs with semi-automatic weapons and pockets full of crack to sell. Drive-bys became routine, so did walk-bys for the ones too young to drive. Some kids were shot over drug turf, others were killed for a jacket or simply because they flashed the wrong hand sign at the wrong time. I remember standing over one young man's body knowing the whole thing started because of the way his cap was tilted. That's all it took. People like to think this was a black issue, and I pushed back hard on that. I'd seen some of the most dangerous gangs made up of white middle-class kids from the southwest side of town. Poverty, broken families, hopelessness, those don't discriminate by color. When the national press started paying attention, many political and business leaders were shocked. Not everyone appreciated the truth coming out. There was an official or unofficial movement to destroy my credibility, to make the story about me instead of the violence on our streets. Once during the height of the gang wars, I got a call from a friend who worked at my bank. She said a police officer had just been there asking to see my financial records. She told him he'd need a subpoena. That's how it was back then. It was always easier for some people to try to kill the messenger than deal with the message, kind of like it is today. The New York Times article that captured all of this didn't just stir up local reaction. It caught the attention of HBO producers. They came to Little Rock and went first to the Little Rock PD Public Information Officer, Lieutenant Doc Holladay. Doc referred them to me, telling the producers I knew more about gangs than anyone else in the city. That introduction started my work with HBO. Doc later went on to serve as Pulaski County Sheriff for many years, but back then he was the bridge that connected me to the project that would take Little Rock's gang story to a national audience. Not everyone wanted to silence me. Some wanted to learn. Senator Edward Kennedy sent 2 young staff members to Little Rock to understand gang dynamics firsthand. They spent time with me cruising the neighborhoods, hearing the street-level reality from me and others who had been there for it all. It wasn't the kind of tour you forget. Then there was the day the U.S. State Department contacted me. An agent, he called himself a desk officer, wanted a full briefing on gang dynamics. His assignment was in a northwestern African country, but I suspected he was more CIA than desk jockey. We spent an entire day in a conference room at a local hotel going deep into the structure, codes, and spread of gang culture. Not long after our meeting, news dispatches came from that part of Africa describing a rise in U.S.-style gangs. I've wondered ever since if my briefing might have influenced events half a world away. We tried everything: youth programs, community policing, even camping trips for the hardest cases. Some of those kids, beneath all that bravado, were just children desperate for belonging. But the lure of easy drug money was stronger than a $4.55 an hour job at Kmart, and the neighborhood offered few good role models. I still hear the echo of those years in my head, the sound of gunshots at night, the wail of grieving mothers, the silence of a body bag being zipped closed. That's why I started telling young people, drama leads to trauma. And trauma doesn't just end lives. It shatters families, neighborhoods, and entire communities.